From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Our top story, not guilty pleas again for a Fairbanks man accused of attempted murder and a burglary gone bad.
Levi Ratinsky, who was originally facing a total of 20 charges, was recently indicted on 4 more. Now, these include additional first-degree burglary and theft, both Class C felonies. Yesterday, Ratinsky, who was back in jail after recently being bailed, pleaded not guilty to those counts. Victims said that after allegedly burglarizing a Chena Hot Springs Road residence, Ratinsky returned to the property with a stolen gun, threatened to shoot one of the men, and actually pulled the trigger, but the gun misfired. Now, yesterday, the prosecution said the new charges were from additional victims of Ratinsky. Trial for his case is set for March.
2 men accused of an armed home invasion appeared in Fairbanks Superior Court yesterday. Devon Creighton and Shamil Mabins face charges of first-degree robbery, theft, and misconduct involving weapons. Yesterday, Mabins, who is out on $1,000 bail, and Creighton, who remains in custody, pleaded not guilty to all charges. Court documents say the men forced their way into a Marianne Street residence with guns and robbed a female victim and other occupants of thousands of dollars and an iPhone 6. Witnesses said the men wore bandanas to cover their faces and pointed their guns at all of the occupants of the home. Trial for their case was set for March.
Not guilty pleas for the trio accused of burglarizing the Prospector retail store after a fire late last month. Dimitri Rice, Rebecca Graves, and Tiara Van Fleet are all facing felony charges, including first-degree burglary. Police found employees and the owner trying to detain 3 individuals who had been attempting to take items from the store after the basement fire. Now, the suspects did flee but were later apprehended. A trial date for all 3 was set for March. Now, the Prospector does remain closed due to the damage sustained in the December basement fire.
As we reported Monday, a Fairbanks man faces felony charges after authorities say he burglarized the vacant Tamarack Inn motel. 34-year-old Vitalia Gavorinsky is charged with 11 counts, including first-degree burglary in the January 2nd incident. But that isn't the only problem for the local motel. The building has been vacant after the electricity was shut off because of the owner, Rosemary Johnson, failed to pay the bill. More than 20 displaced residents left their belongings in the building after being vacated by Fairbanks Fire Department. The manager of the motel said interior temperatures at the time were around 20 degrees. She said police notified her of the burglary shortly after the evacuation. Now, city officials say the building has been classified as unfit for living. Further, they have locked and boarded up the building to prevent loitering and other possible criminal activity.
Unfortunately, it was broken into and the police department arrested an individual. And so we're going to require that building to be secured. Now, that doesn't prevent someone from breaking the windows or anything, but until we have another incident, we're going to just say it's got to be secured. What will happen is they'll bring in candles or temporary heat, which will create carbon monoxide, another dangerous situation, and therefore it's posted.
Retail gas prices in Alaska have fallen just over 9 cents per gallon in the past week, averaging $2.97 a gallon. That's according to Gas Buddy's daily survey of 398 gas outlets in Alaska. The national average has fallen to $2.19 a gallon. For the first time in a long time in Fairbanks, gas has dropped below $3 a gallon at some stations. Now, the low price today was $2.98 a gallon at Sam's Club. Airport gas and oil on Dale Road was at $2.99. The high was at $3.19 a gallon at 2 local Chevron stations. The motoring public seems to be happy about the drop in prices.
You know, $4 a gallon is a bit steep. Getting down towards 3 is nice.
I think it's going to let people, do a little bit more this summer and save a little bit more money and be able to go out there and spend a little bit more money.
I think we were paying like $70, $80 to fill up before. We'll probably pay about $20 less at least, maybe.
Pretty nice not having to pay that extra dollar almost.
I hope they keep coming down, and I hope the fuel oil comes down like the gas did.
Pretty good prices, I must say.
Yeah, I filled up last night and it was a lot less than normal.
It was very noticeable. I like it.
Yep. Okay, when we come back, the Stone Soup Cafe is getting ready for their annual Soup Off.
Also, the Stryker unit from Fort Wainwright is heading to California for some heavy-duty training. We'll have the details. Stay with us. Welcome back to the Fbx Evening News. 5 years ago, a group of ladies came up with the idea of putting a public benefit together with soups prepared by local chefs and all donations going to the Stone Soup Cafe. This year's Soup Off will be held at the Westmark Hotel on January 16th. The function will not only feature delicious soups from a number of restaurants from around town, but also feature many auction items in an effort to top last year's $20,000 in contributions.
So that at the end of the night, we have a People's Choice winner, in addition to the Golden Ladle. And we also have best use of local ingredients. And they just taste soup. And they can taste wine, they can taste beer, they can have coffee, water, whatever they wish, and enjoy themselves. Look at the auction items, have fun, see their friends.
The Alaska Department of Transportation and Public Facilities is considering whether or not to increase the speed limit on a portion of the Richardson Highway. The current speed limit from milepost 341 to 361 is 55 miles per hour. DOT is looking to raise that limit to 65. That section of the road is a double-lane, separated highway and extends from Eielson Air Force Base north to Fairbanks. DOT spokeswoman Meadow Bailey says a majority of motorists already travel above the posted 55-mile-per-hour speed limit between Eielson and Fairbanks.
So we're looking at raising the speed limit right now up to 65. We recognize that our speed studies have shown anyways that people are for the most part driving 65 in that area when the conditions are right.
Now we will have more on this story tomorrow night on the Fbx Evening News.
We have more now from our interview with freshman U.S. Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska, who took the oath of office yesterday on the Senate floor to open the 114th United States Congress. Sullivan defeated Democrat Mark Begich to claim Alaska's junior Senate seat. He campaigned heavily on the notion of returning control of the Senate to the Republican Party. Republicans now hold 54 seats on the U.S. Senate, while Democrats hold 44 with 2 independent U.S. senators. While that is a simple majority, Republicans will need support from at least 6 Democratic or independent senators in order to veto-proof legislation. Sullivan says he is willing to go across party lines to gain legislative support.
To actually move legislation, most legislation in the Senate, you need 60 votes. So we're going to need some members of the other side of the aisle, and I've already been working on that, and I will continue to work on that. But I think a lot of the issues certainly that I'm going to be focused on, the great opportunities for energy in our country, getting the economy moving again, those are not partisan issues, those are bipartisan issues.
The 1st Stryker Brigade Combat Team at Fort Wainwright started deploying to the National Training Center at Fort Irwin, California this week and will continue through next week. Monty Bowen has details now in this week's Military Report.
The Alaska-based Stryker Brigade is scheduled to conduct its capstone training exercise at the U.S. Army's National Training Center at Fort Irwin this month and next. The training at Fort Irwin is not easy.
Well, we just did a movement from the beginning of the battle area to the Stryker area zone.
The difficulty is often amplified by throwing in another language. Specialist Clark was assigned to work with the Japanese force as a radio operator.
Bounding in between the Japanese and American forces using both their anti-tank and their tanks themselves, and then the American forces using our Strykers.
A successful training exercise at the National Training Center will validate the brigade, preparing them for worldwide deployment in support of any mission the Army calls them to do.
I hope to bring back the tactics that I see on the battlefield while we're out there, and just some of the SOPs they have with communicating down the battlefield.
This is Monty Bowen reporting.
The Military Report is brought to you by Stanley Nissan. Innovation for all.
All right, our favorite sports guy, Joe Cook, is coming up next with a full breakdown of the Fairbanks Ice Dogs matchup this weekend. They haven't been home in a long time.
Also, a look ahead to a busy week in high school sports. Stay with us. Joe Cook is up next.
Hello, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here in the sports seat for you this Wednesday evening with your Hump Day Sports. It's Wednesday already. I know Fairbanks Ice Dogs fans have been going through withdrawals in the last month or so, but the Ice Dogs will be back in the Dipper this weekend. They face an old foe as well. Here's more. This Friday night, it will be 48 days since the last time the Ice Dogs played in front of their home fans. They've been on the road since November 23rd. They won their last game 3-2 over Keystone to finish their 9-game road trip 4-5. But now, it's home sweet home.
It feels great, being on the road for a month and a half. It's such a relief to be in front of our fans. They're so loyal to us, so it's going to give us that energy that we need to get things back going here, play Ice Dogs hockey.
Fairbanks will be continuing the Raven Alaska Cup Series with the interstate rival Kenai River Brown Bears. The Brown Bears are struggling, going 0-8-2 in their last 10 games, the worst stretch in the NAHL. The Ice Dogs could use this series to get better on special teams. They have only 3 power play goals in their last 10 games and are ranked 20th on the penalty kill.
Definitely our power play needs to be better. We need to get more shots on the net. We need to be able to outwork the penalty kill, and our penalty kill needs to keep taking steps in the right direction.
We actually just did that today. We did about a half hour on power play, so we're hoping to get back on track with that, have some success against Kenai this week.
One thing fans will be excited about is the return of Robo Cup MVP Kevin Aldridge. Aldridge is back after a short stint with Lake Superior State of the WCHA. He joined the Dogs during the road trip and is 1-1 in 3 games. Current goalie Patrick Munson is second in the NAHL with a 16-5 record, so it's an embarrassment of riches in goaltending for the Dogs. Aldridge is just glad to play one last year of junior hockey for the Ice Dogs.
Feels really good. We had a good road trip. I think it was fun being back with the guys, and it feels really good being back here. This team's more than capable of going on another run. I think our forwards are really strong up front, and our D, I think, are coming along. So
this series starts at 7:30 this Friday in the Big Dipper. And switching to college sports, the UAF swim team put their hat in the ring for another program starting the new year with the win. Alaska won 220-200 over Willamette University on Tuesday in Coronado, California. Alaska's earlier meets with Whitworth College and Wisconsin Eau Claire were canceled. There was a little rest from the ladies. Victoria Adams, Martha Hood, and Danielle Lyons won 2 events apiece. Gabby Summers, she set a PR in the 100 butterfly with a time of 1 minute, 0.5 seconds. Alaska was also victorious in the 400 freestyle relay and 200 medley relay. UAF will train for another 6 days before heading back to Fairbanks. They will host Loyola Marymount on January 30th. The kids are back in school, and that means the winter high school sports season will go into a full sprint. Here's what's on tap for this week alone in hockey. West Valley, Lathrop, and North Pole will host Diamond and West Anchorage. The Wolfpack will play West first Thursday night at 8 in the Dipper, while Diamond and Lathrop will meet in the early game at 3 o'clock. In 3A, Hutchinson travels to Tri-Valley on Friday, while the Monroe Rams will be on the road to battle Houston on Friday and Saturday. Basketball is loaded. Thursday is the opening day. The Mount McKinley Bank Holiday Classic at Boileau Hall. Monroe hosts K-High, SoHi, and Colony in this year's field. Also, Hutchinson will host Valdez on Friday and Saturday for a pair of Aurora Conference games at Hutch. The West Valley boys and Lathrop girls will be in Kodiak for the Joe Floyd tournament. The West Valley girls and both North Pole teams go to Palmer for the Elks tournament, and the Lathrop boys will be in Anchorage for the Diamond Prep Shootout. And also, you can't forget about wrestling. One of the biggest interior 4A tournaments is this week at North Pole. Top state teams will compete against interior teams, and the John Tobin Invitational starts Friday. For times and locations for these games and more, just visit the sports page on Webster11.com. So we took our time to calculate all the weeks from the Pro Football Challenge, and we have a winner. And the grand prize winner for this year's Pro Football Challenge is, dramatic pause, True Grit 69. Congrats, True Grit, as the grand prize winner. You will receive a generator from Outpost, Alaska. It was a close one this year, but True Grit, he won with 173 points and 2 weekly victories. Jay Gazino was second with 172, and Archangel 81 had 170 for third place. For the final KTVF standings, if you will, D. Kacheri, my boss, beat out Mike Schultz by a point, 159-158, so she'll have bragging rights for a year, much to the chagrin of Schultz. I finished with 146, all because I forgot to make my picks one week. But nonetheless, congrats to the True Grit 69 for winning after a crazy regular season of NFL games. And that'll do it for sports tonight. Thanks for rocking with me for a little while. Mike Schultz is next with your Full Weather Forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hey everyone, welcome back into our Wednesday night newscast. Mike Schultz with you once again. Take a look at the weather. Another cold day across the interior, but temperatures are slowly warming up, and we're looking at that warming trend to continue into the weekend with temperatures in the teens by this weekend. But until then, we're still going to be kind of chilly. In fact, tonight About 23 below is what we're looking at. Here's our photograph for tonight, sent in by Ron Dixon and his wife. They were able to get a shot of the Immaculate Conception Church. Looks like a postcard, doesn't it? A beautiful shot there, nice colors, definitely the snowy pattern there. And as always, if you have a photograph, by all means, share it with us at KTVF, photos at KTVF11.com. Your numbers look like this. Today's high 13 below. That's a darn sight better than was 26 below a few days ago. 27 below last night for the overnight low. 33 for the record high, 1944. 55 below in 1975. Sunrise and sunset. More than 4.5 hours of daylight, a gain of 5 minutes from yesterday. It's nice to say that. We have one quick thing to pass along to you. The Aurora Watch is going to be level 3, maybe even more, because there's been a huge geomagnetic storm on the sun, and it's expected to send out a lot of opportunities for us to see some northern lights, so keep your eyes to the sky tonight. And as far as our air quality is concerned, well, Fairbanks is in an unhealthy status, and North Pole is good of all things. How about that? This is through 5 p.m. tomorrow. What's going on as far as the rest of the state is concerned on our satellite and radar? Well, here it is. You can see we're looking at more clouds moving up from the south, a little bit of activity moving across the southwest portion of the state, I should say. Freezing rain there, and they're expecting freezing rain in Anchorage, but nothing's going to get past the Alaska Ranges as long as it keeps coming up in that direction. We're looking at some of that pivoting around and becoming a little more favorable for cloud cover in the next few days. Now, what's going on across the rest of the state right now? Well, it's finally cleared out. The snow they had over Juneau out of the picture, 31, 42 degrees at Ketchikan, really warming up there. Elsewhere, kind of chilly in Anchorage, 11 degrees. Rain falling around Kodiak Island, 40 degrees. Up and down the west coast in the teens. Teens below zero at Barrow, and 35 below zero still at Fort Yukon, locked in that cold air. Lower 48 weather up and down the west coast and the western half of the country for the most part. Very nice weather, although it's kind of chilled down a little bit. 25 degrees, it was 55 yesterday in Denver. Minneapolis looking at some snow, -1 degree. Lots of snow moving across the Great Lakes, and here's what it looks like on the satellite and radar. You can see the flow just roaring across the Great Lakes right there, just pouring across Buffalo, and more activity moving across Cleveland and over the upper sections of Michigan and Wisconsin. Out to the west, it looks like for the most part things are clearing up as high pressure becomes the dominant feature. And the snowfall, and again, lots of it, 6 to 12 inches, very likely in these dark blue areas. The lighter blue areas looking at 3 to 6 inches and 1 to 3 inches depending on where you're at. Now, the overall jet stream once again is moving slowly to the north, which allows warmer temperatures out to the southwest, but still the cold air is going to be trapped in across the central plains and the southern plains, so icy conditions are possible for the Dallas-Fort Worth area all the way down close to San Antonio. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow. Here's what it looks like in the northern sections, mostly clear and cold for Fort Yukon. Sunny skies at Barrow, and cloudy skies expected in Nome. While the interior will be looking at, once again, scattered clouds at Fairbanks and Delta, but mostly cloudy skies in Healy. And look at the temperature at Healy. Well, we're looking at 9 degrees, and at Fairbanks at 14 degrees below zero, so a little contrast going on there. Tomorrow, with the southeastern sections, cloudy skies for Juneau, partly cloudy skies at Ketchikan, while over the southwest part of the state, for the most part, rain with snow or freezing drizzle for Cold Bay, rain for Kodiak, and scattered showers in the Bethel region. And down around the Anchorage Bowl, they've got a freezing rain situation going on starting tomorrow morning and lasting through most of the day. Rain at Homer and snow in Valdez, and blizzard conditions expected for the Thompson Pass area with close to a foot of snow possible there. Time once again for our kids' weather, and all this week we're talking with the kids from Pearl Creek Elementary School. Tonight we have a young man with a very nice picture to share with us.
Hi, my name is Axton. I drew the winds of change. Here is a snowman. There are some cottages, and here you see the northern lights. There's a snowstorm, and the snowman's hat is being blown off. And here's me, buried in snow.
That's a good picture, Axton. And again, thanks to Mount McKinley Bank for sponsoring our kids' weather. Tomorrow night, another young man will be here with an interesting question for me. All right, here's your forecast for the remainder of the night. Once again, another cold night, 23 degrees below zero, and not as cold the higher up you go, obviously, in the hills. And the forecast for tomorrow, warming trend begins with a few high clouds. And look at the 5-day, pretty consistent, 10 degrees all the way across the board, mid-teens by Tuesday of next week with some snow in the picture. But overall, the trend is, once again, like I said, warming up. And that's good. Temperatures very nicely warming up to around 10 degrees, pretty consistent there. And overnight lows right around 0 each night. So
That
definitely
sounds
better than
great.
it has been, that's for sure.
Yeah, not bad.
That really, honestly, is not too bad for this time.
Yeah, and if we can get through the majority of January with temperatures like that, I mean, February, yeah, it can be cold, but still, we'll be on that upward tick.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
We've lucked out, definitely.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks, Mike, and that will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Tonight on NBC Nightly News, a rare pod of killer whales is putting on a show for folks in Southern California. We'll have the details next. Well, Brian Williams will have the details next.
I'm looking forward to seeing that. That's going to be pretty interesting. Join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
All right, from the pod of anchors to you, from all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
You think you're a whale.